Hey guys, so welcome back. Well, this is interesting. We've got ourselves a late 70s Ford or Lincoln, depending on whether it's marked that way or not. I haven't seen Lincoln on it anywhere, but it was a similar model. AM, FM, stereo, quadraphonic 8-track unit. And this was sent to me by a fellow who asked me to take a look at it, that he had got it and hooked it up to power, and the only thing that came on was a light bulb inside here. Got no other activity out of the unit, and I asked him, how do you know nothing was working? Did you hook it up to some speakers? And he said yes, they did. They had it hooked up to all 4 speakers and didn't have any response out of it. So he asked me to just take a look at it, just see if I can see if anything that we can do to it. I do have the schematics for it, and so we'll take a look at that in just a minute. This will be interesting, so hang on. Okay, I have a schematic for this, and I want to share with you my approach for doing this to start off with. But I know you can't see all this, but let me just kind of give you a walk around about what we're looking at here. I have blow up parts of each of these sections as they're applicable. So the unit has several boards. I think there's 4 boards, okay? And you can see a little bit of a dotted outline here. This is the audio board here. And you can see there's some connection points located here. All right. So here are your 4 op amps for your audio outputs, okay? And so these are the outputs to the speakers, okay? These things right here, I believe, are going to be located on the back side of the front panel and so forth. This has like the volume control, the balance control, some switches. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Here is the tape preamp board. Here's the tape heads. Sorry. Here's the tape heads here, and this is the tape preamp board. Okay. All right. Up here we got a couple of boards that are close together. This right here is the tuner board. Okay, so this has the antenna inputs. You can see it's got the IF transformers in here. So this is the tuner board. And then all of this here is the AM, FM multiplex board that does the items after that and before it goes to these controls and so forth. Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, I was told that they were able to get a dial light to come on, and that was it. Well, if you look, there's 2 leads here that say plus 14.4 volts, okay, here and here. That corresponds to the 2 separate leads we had. We had a blue one that said lights, I guess that's this one, and then the other one that went to be power, the black, and that went in here. So we know this worked, okay, but that has, as you can see, it has nothing really to do with the rest of the radio, so we're going to look right in here. Before I put any power to this at all, what I want to do is just go in here and just check for continuity through here, because if you think that you get power here and then nothing happens, let's look for some of the basics. Okay, we'll look to see if we're getting continuity past the choke and whether this switch is working. Okay, then once we're through the switch, we'll see if we're getting good continuity through these jumpers up into this area where we have this next bank of filters. All right, we can check to see if these filters have gone dead short. But I think we probably would have seen something, but we'll get to that later when we get to voltages. Okay, another couple of points here. You'll see once it comes into here, this lead here comes straight on from the switch and goes off to something called V sub A. Now V sub A ends up as M to provide power for the motor, but it goes through a switch first. So V sub A comes up to here, and then V sub A goes through this switch that then comes to the motor. It goes to M, and then that's where it provides the voltage to run the motor for the tape deck. Okay. Alpha, or A, comes up here, and this goes to provide power to either the radio the functionality or the tape functionality. Okay. If it goes to the radio functionality, it comes up to here and goes to another switch that says, are we talking to AM or FM? Okay. Now B, which is down here, comes over and it connects over here into the multiplex board. So it comes up to here and connects here on the multiplex board, and it may connect in over here to the tuner board eventually. But it's providing a reference power into here. Okay. So that's kind of a quick overview of what we're doing. As I say, I've got some close-ups on most of this. My first intention, as I say, is go in here. We're just going to check for some continuity before we put any voltage to this at all, and just see what we find. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the case and look at where the switches are and see what we can find. Slide that off. This thing is labeled with the name of the adjustment points if we get into doing an alignment. Okay, we're having a first look at this. TRW Canada, that's interesting. Now, I've seen in the schematics that some of the silk screening on the boards indicate 1977. I don't know when this was made. I don't know if that's a date code, but we can kind of keep our eye out and see what we see in this. Alright, so first of all, I'm looking for things like signs of damage or something just obviously wrong. I don't really see it right now. Should reveal the bottom of the tape drive mechanism. I was just wondering if we'd learn something by looking under here. Okay, this looks like the connection to the items in the front. There's our belt drive mechanism. Here's our antenna connection here. The belt is there. Let's go into here. Looks like I can remove these two screws, this one, and this one, and maybe this piece will come off. I'll have to see. Give it a try. I'm sure some of you guys that know how to work on these things are looking at me and saying, man, it just comes right out. Well, I don't know that, and I want to be careful, so I don't think I'm doing anything too terrible. Okay, it's got hold of something right there. I don't know what it is. That snapping you're hearing is just popping back into the bracket. This snapping back into this little bracket here. Okay. Easy does it. So here's the tape drive motor. This is what that screw was threaded into, is this. kind of flimsy because that's part of a shielding arrangement. Now, I might be able to get to the relevant switch portions here. This could very well be, yeah. Okay, let me get the larger drawings here for you. This area here I've enlarged to be here. Okay, so where the power line comes in is here. We're going to see a choke, we're going to see a couple of capacitors, a 200 microfarad and a 0.1 microfarad, and then we'll see a line that goes to the switch. So what I see here is a couple of capacitors, but I don't know if that's what these are. Let me see if I can read what they are. Okay, we got a 250 microfarad. 250 microfarad here. That other one doesn't look like a 0.1 though, does it? They're both 250 at 16 volts. Both 250. Okay, well we know we have power coming in here. So this is the power lead coming in. It comes here, goes to black, and black comes to this terminal here. And then we have a 250 capacitor that comes across from that terminal, comes over here, and that is tied to chassis ground right there. Okay, so that is that capacitor right here. And we've got some little disc capacitors in there. That's probably these 0.01s. Alright, so I'm assuming that's what they are. I don't want to mess stuff up with that too much. Okay, so we got the blue lead comes in. So the blue lead comes in, goes to a couple of dial lights, and there's a 0.1 capacitor for that as well. So we've got two of those in there. We do have another 250. I'm not sure where that is. But we have the big 250. So we found this 250 and we found that 0.1. Alright, let me just check for some continuities while I'm going. Okay, that's the power in. I've got connected to the red here, and we're just going to be looking for continuity. So we're going to have continuity from there to here, and then we're into a capacitor here. We go down to this point. We then pick up that disc capacitor right there. Yeah. Okay, so then it comes out of that capacitor, and it looks like it's orange. It goes to orange. Now orange, does it go to the switch? Sure looks like it. It's a pretty torn up connection though right there. I don't know if you can see that. This is what I'm looking at. Okay, where does that go? Well, let's see. I'm going to connect up to that orange lead. Alright, and let's see if we can find out where it goes. It should go to this on-off switch. That ain't easy to get into. So the on-off is done by turning this. So we have some potentiometers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. Okay. It's been charging a capacitor there. Okay, wait a minute. This red lead. Okay. So wait a minute. Okay, so what we do is we come in here. I haven't found this choke though. But we come in, we hit the 250, we hit the 0.1, and then we continue on to the switch. So really I'm not looking on the other side of the 250, that's where I was seeing an orange. That's more like a ground line, I guess. I'm not sure. But the hot lead comes in to this red location here. I'll just leave it on this. So the hot lead comes in, goes to here, and it goes here. So the on-off switch should be to here. Okay, am I doing something wrong? That's power in, comes to here, right? And then that's the on-off switch. What am I missing? I know this is also the program change. Okay. Power in, that's the switch. Do we just have a broken switch? Okay, where I'm looking is right here. Okay, the power comes in this black line. Okay, power. That comes in here through this black line, comes up to here to this point. Okay, from that point right there, it hits this. It hits this electrolytic back here. Okay, it also hits a disc capacitor right in there. But those are just go to ground. Okay, but this black lead here should continue here. I never saw this choke. This choke might be outside of the radio. Alright, so then this comes in here and goes to the switch. Right? So I can come here, but the switch doesn't seem to operate here. So here is the line from this power line right here. See, there's 3 points here. There's here, here, and there. You know, it acted like it wanted to. It may have been charging that capacitor. So it comes here, and when I turn the switch on, it should beep. It's not beeping. These are turning these these connections here through a gear mechanism. You can see that moving. But I need to get in there and see what I can see. Okay, let me get my head in there. Okay, what I've done is taken a business card and I've cut a really small, thin piece of the business card. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold on to it with some clamps. Like so. And then I'm going to soak this with some neutral control cleaner. And we'll see if we can get in there and clean those points. I want to avoid just spraying stuff down in there. Okay, you may not be able to see what I'm doing, but I gotta go do it. So there's a couple of points that are switching back and forth. That's what they're doing, and it's contacting on this side. It's It's contacting on this side and it's contacting on that side. So when it's off, it's contacting this way, and there's a switch position that's here that's not connected, that's connected to, and then it flips back this way, and that's to go to power on the unit, and those points in here are not conducting past each other. So I'm going to get this in here and see if I can scrub between the contacts. But you might be able to see some of the dirt that was there. I barely even moved this, and there's specks of dirt on there. Alright, let me repeat this a couple of times. Okay, so I went in there and did some cleaning inside of here on the contacts that were popping into, well, it's kind of like this, popping into its different location. And there was a lot of soot and dirt on this contact here. I got that kind of scrubbed off, went over it with the neutral to clean it off. If you can see it here, don't focus. You can see the dirt that I scrubbed off the contact point. That's on one side, and a little bit on the other side. This is not the first piece of paper. I ran through several. So this one really showed it where I had cleaned it. Okay, so now when you turn it on, we have continuity through here. So I'm going to check a few more points that I think I can, but I think I might be going to power up pretty soon. We'll see if that's all it was. There may be any number of other problems with the radio. I don't know. But at least this way we can get power to it and see if it starts to behave. You put this back together. Okay, I'm ready to go to first partial power up, just to see if we get any bad shorts or anything in this. I don't want to have any open leads on the outputs, so I've got 4 matched 4 ohm speakers hooked up to each of the leads coming out. All of the negatives are attached to this piece of coiled up ground braid. They're all hooked up together. All the positives are hooked up according to this. I do not have the lights plugged in because I know that supposedly works, so I'm just going to leave that out of the circuit for now. The power going in is this red line here. That goes to power. It comes over here to this. This is the negative, and I'm grounding it to the chassis. Yes, I've verified continuity between the chassis and the ground braid before I hook that up, so it's good. I'm going to be providing the power through this line right here. Right here I have an inline fuse. I have a 5 amp inline fuse in here. I'm going to be running it through a bulb. I have a 12 volt headlight bulb here, and I'm going to be powering it from this power supply. Now this power supply does not have enough power, I don't believe, to provide enough power to operate this unit entirely. So as I bring this up, I'm probably not going to be able to get to enough voltage on it. Or another way to put it is I'm not going to exceed 14.4 on here, and I probably won't get enough current from here and also including the bulb to drive this. But the intention is just to see if I have an early short somewhere. Okay, switch is off for right now. No, I'll turn it on. No, I'll leave it off for a second. But as I say, this way I have loads on it. It's currently in FM mode. I'm going to switch it to AM. I don't have an antenna hooked up, so I don't know if we'll get any noise or not. But I'm just going to see if I can put power to it and see if we achieve a short, or if there's any kind of problem, or if it's taking power. We'll see some current moving here. Alright, so I think I'm ready to go. So I'm going to turn the voltage down. Alright, I have power coming into it over here, and this is coming from my isolation power transformer. So this is isolated. If I end up using anything like my oscilloscopes or anything like that, the power on here is on isolated supply. Okay, I'm ready to go. Let's just see what we get. Okay, power's coming on. Let's see power here. I'm going to tip you up just a little bit so you can maybe see the headlight. A lot of it's going to be reflected in the lights that we have. Okay, we'll turn the power on and we'll see what we get. Well, first let me get a little voltage. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see the voltage pretty well. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple of volts. Okay, I'm just going to start with 2.5 volts, just for fun. Alright, I'm going to click on the power now. I heard some crackling. I think from this speaker here. Okay, I'm going to turn up the power, voltage rather. I'm getting some crackling from here. (140 milliamps). Let me just park it there for a minute. Okay, I'm getting hiss, mainly from him. I don't hear hiss anywhere else, so maybe balance is messed up. Yes. Okay, I'm getting noise. Okay, I'm moving 150 milliamps. Bring the voltage up a little bit. Definitely getting noise. There's 12 volts. Okay, let's see if I can get some kind of antenna connection here. Definitely getting noise here. Noise went from here to here. And I believe, so that's fade. Balance, I think you push it in and turn it. I'm getting noise here. And I'm getting noise here. I'm getting noise out of each of the 4 channels. That's a very good sign. Okay, I'm going to turn this off and see if I can put in an antenna, and I'll come back and raise the voltage up easy again. So hang on. Okay, I can get to the back side of the antenna connection right here. I'm not going to worry too much about shielding and all that. Okay, I can just connect it like that. Okay, I've got a antenna kind of hooked up. So turn the power on. Power's on. Turn the volume all the way down. Hit this. That's 6 volts. Turn the volume up.
European, Native American, and Asian people.
Fear the Fed is going to have to raise interest rates to combat it. Stop bragging about falling gas prices. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't we be thanking Putin, who controls commodity prices? But that, too, is a function of lower demand. Also not a promising sign, the S&P Global says private sector output dropped sharply in June. The housing market is cratering, and consumer sentiment is at historic lows.
And then on the evening, this wolf would this man would transform into a werewolf and lead a pack of wolves, and they would then descend on the hapless travellers and kill them and eat them. And the werewolf had the name of Old Stinker, and he was called Old Stinker because he reputedly had a putrid breath and wolves didn't carry him. And he was said to be very pretty tall, could stand up on his hind legs, knock people down, and that he was a real menace. And I say he's talked about in medieval times, and then he crops up again in more modern times, the 18th century or so. There's accounts of carriages being takes about responsible.
There's a real chance. Barrel car, breakout season.
Let's try FM.
And the reason that they deemed it a recession is because it was so.
Stereo light is on.
And 107.5 FM, Houston's Eagle. Houston's Eagle.
Right in your pocket.
Tell your smart device.
Okay, so I've got this thing mounted up on some blocks that I have, so I can see underneath, you know, with a with a mirror, so they can look at the drive mechanism, so I can verify whether it's turning or not. So you put the tape in, and it's not operating, so I'll demonstrate that again. Make sure I've got everything set right here. It's the next day, so I'm making sure I got everything okay. Turn the voltage down, bring it back up. Okay, I'll bring the voltage back up. They were playing that last night too. Okay, so when I put the, let me go to AM talk or something, so I'm not getting hammered by copyright. Okay, so I can put in a tape, and the radio's turned off, but I can look underneath and I can verify that the tape mechanism is not turning, the wheel with the belt and so forth, the motor is not turning. Okay, so what could that be? Well, it's pretty straightforward really. So let's take a look here. Alright, we talked about this the other, last time, is that the motor is here. It gets its power from M. M comes up here to a switch. Where's it? Here it is. Okay. So there is M comes from the motor switch and gets its power from V sub A, which is down below where the on-off switch is. There's another switch here, which is the radio tape switch, that then sends power to the radio section or the tape section. I believe these two operate at the same time based on the tape going in. So let's look at the number of switches we got. We've got one here that's operated one operation does both of these, and there's another one here that trips AM to FM. I have located that one. I think I know where this one is. And there's one more switch, which is how does this thing know if it's got a stereo tape or a quadraphonic tape? And that's down here. Okay, I think I know where this switch is too. And I'm going to show you how this thing knows the difference. So it does that automatically from receiving the tape. This is a stereo tape. If it was quadraphonic, there is like a slot that you'll see on those kinds of tapes right in here. Okay, and so there is a little finger that sticks inside here, and it looks for that. If a stereo tape goes in, I believe it pushes that finger and it tells this is a stereo. If it doesn't pick that up, then it believes it's a quad tape. On these tapes there's a detent mechanism here, so there's a spring-loaded thing on the side that'll pop this in, so it's basically just a detent. Otherwise, when this thing goes in, it should be engaging the motor and telling it to go to tape instead of radio. Alright, so I'm going to move the camera and I'll show you where those are. Okay, now as we look inside of this thing, you can see there's the playback head, and it's got the coils in there for playing the 8 tracks. Over here is the button. So this button right here, when it gets pushed, the tape goes in. That's what tells it that there's a tape in, turns on the motor, and switches it from radio to tape play. So that button goes in this way. Then there is a finger, a feeler up here. You can barely see. Let me see if I can get this. It's right up in here. And that thing right there, see it tipping? That's the thing that detects whether or not it's an 8-track or not. There's a finger up there that feels for the slot. These are the 2 electrodes that will complete back up on the tape. When it goes to change programs, there's a piece of conductive tape, that's a splice, I guess it's aluminum tape or something. And as it comes across here, it completes the circuit across these 2 points here that tells the radio to go to the next program. Okay. And then on the other side, turn this around. This is the drive capstan that squeezes up against the roller and the tape that makes it turn. These things usually get really dirty, and when they do, they grab the tape, and this is what eats the tape. Okay. And then over on the far side, over here on the right, this is the device that is like a detent spring. Pushes on this when the tape goes in, and then a roller pops out over here on the right. You can't see it. There it is right there. That roller pops out, engages a slot on the tape, and holds it tight and straight against the play mechanism. So I don't know if I can see that. Show you that finger up there any better than I am. Let's see. That shows the tape player. It's kind of way up there. Let's see if I can get you down and get a better angle on that. So there is the fingertip right up there. And that's the thing right there that touches and tells us whether it's a, there I'm operating it, tells you whether this is a quadraphonic tape or not. There's the finger right there. I'm moving it side to side there. Okay, I've got the power off and I've got the power leads disconnected. So I've got no power going into the unit at all again. Okay, here you can see the motion works, if you will. You got the belt, and this is where the motor is. And we'll open this back up. This is where we were a little while ago. Right, so here's the area where we were working on the switch, the on-off switch. Okay, now what we're going to do, I'm going to disconnect this. Is it keyed? Yeah, it's keyed. Okay, so I can tell that this goes in only one way. That's just Sharpie or something drawn on that marshal lock. Get that out of the way. And now I can see the top of the switch stack. It's right there. There it is right there. I need to see if I can find a way to get in there so I can clean those points that are in there. I believe there's going to be a switch that goes radio tape and another one that's motor on, motor off. Radio tape seems to be working, but motor on, motor off is not. So let me get in there and see if I can see what I've got and see if we can get in there. And we'll clean those points up. Okay, I believe that I've found that of the switch elements that are here, the top ones are the ones that are for the motor, luckily. I've been able to do that by using continuity checks. I was able to identify that the lower contact has an orange wire with a black trace on it that I was able to follow up and come to a strip right here. The two wires that come off the motor, blue goes to ground, red comes up into here, and this is where it ties in with a couple of resistors, a capacitor, and so forth. This, by the way, is the detenting solenoid that causes it to step from one track to the next. And I did actually find the switch that is operated when you operate a 8-track or not. I'll have to maybe show you later, but it's really hard to see down in there. But I was able to make sure what that is. Now, okay, so for this right here, in order to get this shield off, I'm going to need to take these two screws out that are holding the switch stack down on top. These two guys here by my thumb. And what those are is there's two long screws that come all the way down. It goes through alternating layers of phenolic switchblades, and so forth. It goes down and then it goes up against this bottom plate, and then these are tapped. These are tapped holes in here. I was able to see through a tiny spot here, there, see back in there and verify there's no nut on the back side of those. They're threaded into the main body. So if I need to, I can take those out. It's something I've done before, how to clean those. But since it's the top contact, I'm going to see if I can clean it right here without having to take it out. The trick is you want to do it without bending the leaves. If it looks like it's going to bend them, then I'm going to take the stack out and clean it that way. But let me try doing it the easy way. And if not, then I'm not afraid to take that off. I've done this kind of thing before. All right, let me get working on that. Okay, here's the piece of business card with some neutral on it. And I'm just going to go down between the blade contact points. And I'm just going to put the tape in to provide the pressure. Come on. And now I'm going to see if I can move that point. I did. Back out. I'm going to give it a try. Let's see how it does. Okay, so I'm going to put this connection back together. Let's see. Yes, I have the polarity right. And put this back where it won't get into trouble. Okay, let me get my setup here. By the way, you're not supposed to run a tape, a 8-track on its side. It'll mess up the way it comes off. So that's why you set these on platens where you can see underneath. So if this is working, you'll hear me say, "Oh, it's working." You'll see that I'll see this turning. Get everything hooked up right. Looks like it. Okay, let's go to power up. By the way, if I have a short, the headlight here is going to come on. I'll demonstrate that for you in a little bit. Okay, so power on. Go to AM. Okay, let's see if the motor runs. I don't hear it moving. No, it's not turning. Do I hear something clicking? Yeah, I hear something clicking. Okay, that's the stepper. The motor's not turning though. That I can tell. Or at least the belt's not moving, but the motor's turning. Let me see if the motor's turning. But I do not believe so. I think I'd hear it. Nope, motor is not turning. Okay, we'll go back to the cleaning. Okay, I'm going to go in and take this stack apart so I can get in there and clean the contacts well, because I'm afraid if I get it to just run, it might run for a little while but not continue. So here's what I was looking for, to see if the motor was turning. I could see this wasn't turning, but I wanted to verify this wasn't turning, and maybe this was stuck and this belt was just slipping. So we got the power disconnected, and what we're going to do is go in and I'm going to take that stack out. Okay. So the screws are here, and I need to get those out. It's nice if you don't have to pull the screws out because it keeps the stack assembled. I have a lot of experience with these switch stacks. First time I worked on a stack like this was in 1980. Okay. Usually when I take them out, I'll do something like pass a wire. When I pull the screw out, I'll put a wire through it to keep it all assembled. Okay, turn this sideways. You see what I'm doing? So now, what I'd like to do is get this metal shield off of it. So I wonder if I can pull up a screw at a time. No, I can't do them one at a time. Let's slip the shield off. There, it made this as far as I need to go, right there. Okay, so in here you can see the way it's built. You see that? Trying my best, guys. Anyway, this, there we go. So the points are right in there. There you can see them. And so, yes, this top one is the motor contact. I can tell for a couple of reasons. One of them is it's either on, off, and the contact is larger. The one down below, if you see the middle one that has the blade going to it, the button going to it, the long white thing, is making, the middle one is making contact to the bottom position. And then when a tape goes in there, it lifts this up and it makes contact now with the top position, and it also moves the motor position here. Now if you ever need to get in here and adjust these points, I've done, like I said, I've done this a long time. Here's a tip. Don't use needle nose pliers, okay? Because what you're going to do is when you bend these things, you won't bend them straight. It'll bend them on an angle, and then they'll never work right. They'll go sideways instead of up and down like they're supposed to. They make special tools for these things, and I have a bunch of them. And you go in and you can make them adjust like that, and it makes sure that they stay straight. It's essential. And you get a tool that you can come in this way, or a tool that can go in this way to make the adjustments. Or I should say like this, or like that. So you can come in this way or straight in and do it like that. I'm not going to make an adjustment on them because I don't think it's not making contact. I think it just needs to be clean. Okay, I'm going to go to town cleaning this, and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, unlike most of the ones I work with, I noticed that these were actually assembled more so than I'm accustomed to. Normally, each one of these elements is individual. So I went ahead and pulled the screws up so that I could slip the shield off and I get direct access in here. I was able to do quite a bit more cleaning in there, and I was able to really remove a lot of dirt. I don't know if you can see any of this. It always shows up in real life better than it ever shows up on the camera. But yeah, definitely cleaned up. So now what I'm going to do is, here's some of the tools I was talking about. So I got a couple of them that have different orientations. So if you get into adjusting these things, I'm not going to adjust these, I don't think they need it. But this one, for example, right here, okay, has a slot that you can barely see right there. On the other end, it has a slot as well. And it kind of depends on how you're approaching it, which one of these you use. So for example, in this case, if I wanted to adjust it, I might come in this way and adjust it. If I had to reach in from a long way, I might have to do it this way. This one has a slightly different setup. It's crossways. This is actually a better tool because I can come in here like this and slip it in and make the adjustments I need to, either like that, or even it has an angled head and get into tight spots. Like I say, I'm not going to use this. I don't think they're out of adjustment. I think they just need to be cleaned. So for that, they have something called a flex stone. which is what this is. It's some kind of really high fineness grit. It's not sandpaper. And all I'm going to do is just take it in here, slip it in between the points, put some pressure on it, and then just give it a little bit, just a little bit. I'm not going to use do it on the smaller ones. I think they're okay. We know they're working. This one I'm going to make sure it's nice and shined up. Never use this on anything that's been flash gold plated. I can tell these are not. But like micro switch contacts, you can't use this. Okay. I think that's all that's going to need. I'm going to give it a little clean wiping. And I think this is going to work fine now. If not, then there's a problem in the circuitry, or maybe the motor's burned out. There. Anyway, maybe what I'll do is assemble this without the shield on it and just make sure it works. That's a good idea. Okay, I'll put it back together. Okay, we'll put this back together and we'll see what we get. Like I say, if that doesn't work, then I'm going to begin to suspect we've got a problem with the motor. Okay, let's see if we get the motor to work. Nothing's happening. Okay, what I'm going to do is see if I can physically give that a little help to make sure it's making contact. Okay. Okay, I'm afraid we have a problem with our motor. So I should be forcing it to make contact right there, and it's not doing anything. Let me see if I'm getting any voltage compared to the chassis. I'm getting 12 volts. Yeah. Alright, let's see if we're getting anything in here on this switch contact. Sorry, I don't think I can get it where you can see, but you can just watch the meter and see if something happens. Yeah, I'm getting voltage. Yeah, I'm afraid we got a bad motor. Or we got a bad circuit in there somewhere. Let me regroup and see what I want to do next. Okay, to gain access to the top of the motor and the motor area, I've released the tuner board. Did that by just releasing this spring clip here, sliding out from these places here, and then disconnecting these 3 Molex connectors. They have these expanded pins on them for polarization, so I know how they go back in.